All right, happy Thursday. So today is scientific notation. And yes, I know you've done this in pretty much, I would say biology, chemistry, something like that. I think it's mainly chemistry. But the mathematical form is a little bit tougher sometimes just to understand it. So scientific notation is one way integer exponents, both negative and positive, are used is through scientific notation. Any real number can be expressed in scientific notation by writing it as a product of a number between 1 and 10. So that's really important right there, between 1 and 10 and a power of 10, since our number system is base 10. Now, I'm not going to write the definitions. You just need to know that if it says standard form, I want you to write out the number. All right, so like this one, they gave me the answer in scientific notation. However, it says times 10 to the fifth, and write it in standard form. I want to write out, and so I got to move my decimal. So if it's positive, I move it to the right. So I go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So anytime you don't have something there, you add a 0. So the answer is 762,000. Okay? Similar with negative, I write out the first part. If I want it in standard form, that means I got to move the decimal. -7 means to the left. Alright, so move it 7 to the left. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, don't forget your negative sign out front. So it's negative. There's a decimal here now. 0 point. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 zeros. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then my 8, 8, 2. Alright, so that would be standard form. Now it gets a little bit harder whenever they do stuff like this on the bottom. If they're multiplying, here's what you're going to do. You're going to take the numbers that are in front and you're actually going to multiply those. Alright, so 9.3 times 7, you would type it in. It's 65.1. Now, the base 10s are the same base. They're the same base and you multiply, you add exponents. 11 minus 3 would be 10 to the 8th. Now, I want this in standard form, alright? So I'm going to take my 65.1 and move it 8 to the right. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Can I add my commas in there? Alright. So multiplication's not too bad. I think the division one's the harder one. So be careful. Go ahead and do the top first because there's 2 here. So same thing, we're going to multiply. We're going to add our exponents. Right? So 21.2 times 2 is 42.4 times 10 to the third, because I would do 7 minus 4 when I'm adding. Now on the bottom I have 5.3 times 10 to the fifth. Now this is very similar to the multiplication, but now we're going to follow division rules. So I'm going to divide these. And your exponents, you're going to subtract. Alright, so this one is very important to do top minus bottom. So I do 42.4 divided by 5.3. I get 8 times 10 to the negative second. Again, I did 3 minus 5. It's very, very important that you do top minus bottom. Whenever we're doing integer exponents, that rule kind of goes out the window because we're just simplifying. But here, it's very important to follow the rule. So notice my decimals here. Okay, so to the right of 8, I've got to move it 2 left because it's the negative second. So my answer is 0.08. So that's in standard form. So now the same thing, they're going to do it, but now they're going to ask it for scientific notation. So now we're just working the other way. All right, so your number has to be between 1 and 10. So that means you're usually going to put it between like the first number and the next number. So my decimal is 2.96 times 10 to the, move it right to second. If you have a really big number, right, your decimal's there, and I move it to the right, that means I'm going to use a positive exponent. If you have a really small number, 2.34 negative times 10, I got to move it to the left now, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So the negative fifth. All right. Now the same rules apply to what we just did above. Let's do the top. 12 times 14. I get 168 times 10 to the fifth. I add my exponents. That's how I got to the fifth. Over the bottom. 10 times, because 5 times 2. I'm going to add these to the negative fifth. All right. So now I'm going to do the division. 168 divided by 10. I get 16.8 times 10 to the top minus bottom. Minus a negative turns into a positive, so it's 10 to the 10th. Now here's what I think is the most confusing part. If you're writing it in a scientific notation and I move it to the left to keep it into scientific notation, right? Because I can't use the number 16. I have to use 1.68. Then I'm going to add 1 to my exponent. All right, so normally we would say, oh yeah, move it to the left, subtract. However, if you're doing scientific notation, I move it to the left. Okay, I'm going to add 1. This next one, we're going to multiply these 3 numbers, right? Because there's just 3 multiplications. You get 39.2. I'm going to add my exponents. You get negative 26. Okay, again, same thing. I moved it to the left to make it 3.92. So I'm going to add 1. I get to the negative 25th. And that's the lesson for today. It's not super long, but that is scientific notation. If you guys have any questions, just let me know. Your assignment will be 1.2 B Hawks.